While you might think this is a scene from somewhere in the Middle East, it's not. Folks, this is downtown Paris. We're going to take a look at the latest episode of civil unrest that plagued Paris in the last week, and we're going to find out that while the demonstrators are causing all kinds of irreparable damage to France, it's Emmanuel Macron, their president, who's the one inflicting the real damage. Stay tuned. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Steve here. Wonderful to be with you. As always, a happy Saturday to all of you. If this is your first time here, I post 2 videos a day analyzing current events in light of super awesome conservative trends so you can live in the present in light of even better things to come. So if you haven't already done so, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. It's an absolute privilege to have you as a regular part of this channel where we every single day together get to celebrate the inevitable collapse of left-wing globalism and the unstoppable rise of a new conservative age. Now, before we get into the collapse of Macron's France, I'd like to give you all a little free gift, and that is my book, Uprising, How the Yellow Vest Protests Are Changing France and Overturning the World Order. You can get this absolutely free as an ebook download by clicking on the link below. If you want to understand what is perhaps the single greatest threat to the globalist world order going on today, then this is the book just for you. You'll discover the political, economic, and cultural dynamics that are behind the Yellow Vest Uprising, why they're only getting stronger, which we'll talk a little bit about today, and what it means for a new political order in France and for Europe as a whole. It's an absolutely free gift, my gift to you. I only ask one thing, that you please leave a review on the Amazon book page, which will help so much with Amazon's promotion of the book, and I can't thank you enough for that. Enjoy that. And finally, let's give a huge shout out to the sponsor of this video, and that's the makers of this beautiful Fighter Flare flashlight. One of the best things that you can invest in for your home protection, particularly when the lights go out, is this 6-in-1 Fighter Flare flashlight. It comes with a 3,000 mAh solar power recharging battery. It's got a high and low beam light that you can see from miles away. I've tried it. It's blinding. It has an emergency strobe light, a compass, a wire and rope cutter, an emergency glass breaker and hammer, and a high-powered military-grade magnet. It's a little powerhouse. Absolutely amazing. And best of all, as a Turley talker, you'll get 15% off the new 2020 model before they sell out. But supply is limited, so don't wait. Click on that link below and get your super awesome Fighter Flare flashlight today. All right, so look, Macron's Paris just simply continues to implode. The latest catastrophe comes as a result of a bunch of protesters from the Congo. Apparently, a Congolese singer was scheduled to perform in Paris, and a number of Congolese who were refugees from the Marxist regime there decided to protest the event because they accused the singer of being a propagandist for the dictatorship in the Congo. And so, as you can see from the video footage, as part of that protest, they set a number of vehicles on fire around the nearby Gare de Lyon train station. Marine Le Pen of National Rally took to Twitter. She called the demonstrators just flat-out scum who are tarnishing France's image around the world. And of course, she's right. She's absolutely right. But in the sense, France's image definitely has been irreparably damaged throughout the world. But I would venture to say that it's not fundamentally because of the damage caused by these protesters. They're pointing, however vividly, to the havoc that's being wreaked upon France by President Macron. The Macron presidency is the real damage to France. These protesters are just making that damage visible for everyone in the world to see. There are a number of signs that France under Macron is imploding. Now, first, of course, you have the Yellow Vest Uprising. That's still going on today, right? Again, make sure to download your free ebook, right? You'll find it very enriching in terms of what's going on here. But I believe they're approaching their 70th straight weekend of protests. Am I right on that? Getting close to a year and a half now of every single Saturday demonstrations. The media's by and large forgotten about the Yellow Vest protesters, but they're still there. And if anything, as one recent report from the World Economic Forum of all places, this one report recently detailed, they're getting more intense and even more violent. And I think that's key. The report rightly recognizes that while the Yellow Vest numbers may have dwindled of late, their intensity has only increased. They're not going away. And they are absolutely dedicated to ending the reign of Macron and globalization over the nation of France. Secondly, in addition to the Yellow Vest uprising, you have the daily protests and demonstrations against Macron's proposed pension reforms. Now, we've done videos on this, but if you're not familiar with it, in a nutshell, under Macron's proposed reforms, workers are being required to work a few more years before they can collect their pensions. And this is happening all the while Macron, who's a former investment banker, has cut taxes for the wealthiest French, getting rid of the so-called solidarity tax. So in effect, most French feel that if you're a worker, life in France has gotten harder under Macron, while if you're richer, life has gotten easier, right? That's the gist of it as I understand it. And so for nearly 2 months, 2 straight months, every day, there have been strikes that have been aimed at defeating Macron's plans to overturn the nation's pension system. So in protest for weeks now, every day, France's public transport systems, its schools, its hospitals, its courthouses, we'll talk about in a moment, even its theaters have been interrupted. It's estimated that disruptions in public transportation alone has cost the government more than €1 billion in revenue ever since the strike began several weeks back. And the combination of these two movements, the pension protests and the Yellow Vest uprising, the combination of these two have really, in effect, paralyzed the Macron regime. In fact, things got so bad, we did a video on this, but things got so bad that Macron was actually confronted face-to-face by dozens of angry protesters at an agricultural fair that he was attending. We did a video on, I think it was actually just last week. You'll definitely want to check it out. I'll link it down below for you as well in the pinned comments section. But the confrontation was very intense, and security was really worried that things could get quite violent. And then just a couple of weeks before that, Macron actually had to be whisked away from a theater in Paris. He was attending some play there, and a massive mob broke through the doors and tried to confront him directly. It was just crazy. But it's not just the Yellow Vest uprisers. It's not just the pension protesters. To add insult to injury, you've had the periodic appearance of what are called the Black Vest protesters. Do you remember these guys? The Gilets Noirs, I believe they self-describe themselves as the Black Vest, which is, of course, a spin-off of the Gilets Jaunes, the Yellow Vest. This is a group of the illegal immigrants who shut down a terminal at the Charles de Gaulle airport in Paris a few months back. Do you remember that? We did a video on it. Hundreds of illegal migrants shut down Terminal 2 in the Paris airport, demanding permanent residency in France. The protesters called on all airlines, but particularly Air France, to stop any financial, logistical, or political participation in deportations. And at one point, you actually heard a migrant yelling that France does not belong to the French. Everyone has a right to be here in France. And then even more recently, they stormed the Pantheon monument in Paris, again denouncing the supposed horrible conditions that illegal immigrants allegedly face in France. The hundreds of protesters were reportedly from over 30 migrant housing centers all around Paris and the surrounding region. And they occupied the entirety of the Pantheon, shutting everyone else out, shutting out all French citizens. And when I saw that, I couldn't help it, but I thought how pathetically ironic this was. Here they've been allowed into France illegally, right? They've been given food, shelter, and bedding, even though they're not even supposed to be there. Here they've been allowed into France, even though they're illegal. And what do? They turn around and they won't let any French into one of their major national monuments. I mean, think about it. They come into France illegally and then they occupy a portion of France, telling all French to stay out. I mean, it's an upside down world in Macron's France, gang. And now on top of all that, now you have the Congolese protesters and inflict all this damage on the Gare de Lyon station. Put that all together, and you really have nothing less than an imploding Paris. But more importantly, an imploding presidency of one Emmanuel Macron, that if things keep going the way they're going, may not even last his first term. Now, before you go, you definitely want to check out the video I just uploaded the other day on the very concerning situation of Turkey opening up the gates and flooding Europe with Syrian migrants. It's happening again, folks. But now a new nationalist populist Europe is in charge, so things are going to be quite different. So I think you're going to really like that video. So make sure to click on the link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.